Hi there, you are welcome to this channel. If you are new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and also follow to get more videos on tech or any UPSC past question. So as part of our course this semester, that is Web Development 1, we will be looking at um, examinable questions. This is UPSC exams on web development 2021. So this is section B. We have question 1, question 2. Later on, we'll be treating the other questions too. Now, let's read question 1. So what does question 1 says? So question 1 says, explain the process that takes place when a student opens a browser and types https, then we have a colon here with a slash upsa.edu.gh for 5 marks. Also, question 2 says, using only HTML, write the basic structure of an HTML5 web page for only 2 marks. So, we are going to start by solving for question 1. So we have question 1 here. So now let's first try to break the question down. So as a student, he said the process that takes place when a student opens a browser and types a browser like this. So what is the process that takes place? So one, the first process is the URL processing. That is where the browser first checks the URL to understand whether this URL, that's the HTTP, the meaning of URL is Uniform Resource Locator. So in section A, when they ask you the meaning of URL, this is it, Uniform Resource Locator. Uniform Resource Locator. Now let's move on. That was just by the way. So question 1. So that was just by the way. Sorry. So that was just by the way. Now, so the process of that takes place when a student opens a browser. So first one is the URL processing. So first of all is the URL processing. Now the question says explain. So we are not going to write only URL processing as a one step or a first process. So the browser first checks the URL whether the type whether the URL is valid or not. So it means the browser checks the domain name. So this is the domain name, upsa.edu.gh. This is the domain name. So second, we also have the DNS lookup. So the DNS lookup, what is DNS itself? So DNS means domain name system. This is it, domain name system. Now what does it do? So our second step is on the DNS lookup. That's the domain system lookup. The domain system lookup. So the browser, so it means that the browser contacts the DNS server to translate the domain name to the corresponding IP address. Remember, in web development, we were learning about IP address. So it is made up of this. Let's just write something like okay. So I mean, I don't want to write any IP address that doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. So let's move on. So it makes sure that the domain name system, that's the DNS, is translated to the corresponding IP address. So for example, normally, let me write something. So sometimes you see these things, this let's say sometimes at the top of, I don't know, like let's just write anything and something like, you let's take something like this. Sometimes when you see this at the top of your browser, so let's say this is our IP address. There is not a real IP address. This is just for example. So let's try this. So let's say this is the IP address of upsa.edu.gh. So first one, it's checked whether the URL is valid or not. So it checked whether the URL this is valid or not. Then the second one is the domain name system lookup. So it translates upsa.edu to this IP address. That is what the machine understands, or the system understands. Then the third one, for number one, we have the establishing connections. That's the HTTPS. So establishing, sorry for my handwriting. So establishing establishing connections. So establishing connection, that's the HTTPS. So, and the full meaning of the HTTPS is hypertext markup language. Let's move on. So the browser establishes a secure connection to the using so I'm coming, the browser, here we have the browser establishes a secure connection with the server using the HTTPS to ensure safe data transmission. And four, we have request to the web server. So after establishing the connection, there's a request to the web server. So let me write request to the web server. So there's a request to the web server where the browser sends an HTTP request to the web page, to the web server, asking the web page to associate with the URL. So it requests the connection, the HTTP, to this URL. Then the fifth one, for number 5, we have server response and rendering. So server response and rendering. Server response and rendering. So that is the fifth one. So it responds and eventually process everything, and you get whatever you searched for. Let's say you searched for upsa.edu.gh. So that is question 1 for 5 marks. So now let's move to question 2. So question 2 says, using only HTML, write the basic structure of an HTML5 web page. This is simple, for 2 marks. So the basic structure of HTML5, you start by declaring the document type. So you are going to start with exclamation. Remember, the document type is in capital letters. Sorry, let me write it small so that you see it well. So doc type, exclamation. So let me divide it, the board, into 2, and do this well. so that you see. So we have doc type, then you write the HTML in small letters, then you close it like this. So after the declaring the document type, that is HTML, you come to head. You come to head. So you open it like this, and inside the head we have our meta heads. So we have meta name. That is if we want to add the meta heads. So let's add it. In our case, let's add it. So we have meta name. Let me do this. Let's remove the meta heads. Let's move straight. So inside the head, let's write title. Let's make this simple. In my previous videos, I've explained what the meta head is. So if you don't know, visit my previous videos on HTML and you get to understand what we mean by saying meta heads. So let's write title. So inside the head we have title. We said only HTML, so we are not adding any link for CSS. So title, let's say mine. No, let's say let's name it HTML5. 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 Then let's close it. When you want to close a tag, use the so first of all, then slash, then you write title, then you close it like this. So let me clean this line. So you close it like this. Let me write it well. So title, let's say HTML5. So after this, then you close your head tag. So you close your head tag. After that, you come to the body. So let's say let's write inside the body, let's write I am a developer. So let me divide the word over here. I am a developer. Then you close it. So you close the tag over here. So after the body, then we move to, let's bring HTML. So let's close everything. So let's close. So to close everything, we bring and write HTML. So we've solved question 2 for 2 marks. So this is how we solve these questions. So in my next video, I'll be dropping the question 3 and question 4 also. So if you are also new here, as I said, subscribe to the channel for more videos. Thank you. See you next time.